India and ASEAN members are looking to strengthen ties amid Russia's invasion of Ukraine and rising tensions between the US and China. Now, New Delhi is hosting a special meeting of Southeast Asian foreign ministers. The gathering marks 30 years of relations between India and the 10-member bloc since it joined ASEAN as a Sectoral Dialogue Partner in 1992.
ASEAN's role today is perhaps more important than ever before, given the geopolitical challenges and uncertainties that the world faces. India fully supports a strong, unified and prosperous ASEAN, one whose centrality in the Indo-Pacific is fully recognized.
The sharpening superpower rivalry between the United States and China has direct implications on all of us in Asia. So these developments, if unchecked, can threaten the whole system of peace and stability, which we have depended on for the basis of our growth, our development and prosperity over many decades.
The talks are likely to focus on regional security and economic participation. Analysts say India wants to present itself as a steady partner for a bloc that is sometimes divided in its relationship with the US and China. Singapore's Foreign Minister Vivian Balakrishnan says trade opportunities abound between India and ASEAN, but also between Singapore and New Delhi. CNA's Tan Se-Hui has more.
Logistics and digitalization, these are areas of the Indian economy and where future opportunities may lie for Singapore and the region.
If you look in terms of the Indian economy, especially in digital services, financial institutions, you know that this is an economy which is maturing quickly, leapfrogging, taking advantage of digital opportunities, and therefore it is an economy in Asia that we need to watch closely and look for opportunities to invest and collaborate in.
Dr. Balakrishnan says both India and Singapore enjoyed strong growth last year, despite the ongoing pandemic. Bilateral trade grew by about 35% compared to the year before, and Singapore remains India's largest foreign investor, contributing about 30% of the country's total foreign direct investment. For India, the ASEAN-India Strategic Partnership plays a big role in the country's Act East policy. It's also part of the country's vision for the wider Indo-Pacific region. That's why this meeting is so important, with the first ASEAN-India foreign ministers meet to be held here. At the meeting, Dr. Balakrishnan says ASEAN is also looking to invest more in India, including in infrastructure and green technology. And the need for the bloc to build stronger ties with India is becoming more important with the ongoing Ukraine war and ensuing geopolitical tensions.
This is again a situation where a crisis presents both a challenge and an opportunity. So again, the more India and ASEAN can interconnect, engage, lower trade barriers, lower non-tariff barriers, and facilitate the flow of goods and services, the better for all of us.
Dr. Balakrishnan will also deliver remarks at the Delhi Dialogue, which lasts till Friday. Tan Se-Hui, CNA, New Delhi.
Well, let's take a closer look now with Ishan Garg joining us from New Delhi. Ishan, what is India hoping to achieve from these next 2 days of talks?
Well, it's certainly hoping for closer ties with ASEAN nations because, as India has repeatedly said, ASEAN countries are at the focal point of India's Act East policy. And this policy of engaging with India's neighbors towards the east, it has assumed greater importance since India has had a falling out with China in the past 2 years. So it's really hoping for new trade relationships. It wants to reduce its trade dependence on China, and ASEAN countries are one of the biggest blocs blocs with which it can engage going forward in that direction. Secondly is the question of India's security presence in the Indo-Pacific. Several experts say that without engaging the ASEAN countries, India cannot have a security presence in the Indo-Pacific, nor can it have a strategic presence in the Indo-Pacific. So that forms another crucial element of what India would want to work with ASEAN countries, trying to gain strategic ground in the Indo-Pacific region. Thirdly is the question of what can India get from ASEAN, not bilaterally but on multilateral forums. So for example, if India is a member of a Quad, what can the Quad get with the ASEAN countries? And that's one thing that experts say that India will be speaking to ASEAN countries about, not only as a neighbor but also as a member of the Quad grouping, which also counts the US, Japan and Australia as a part of it. And third, the last point is perhaps going to be the issue of China. India wants to reduce its dependence on China, and several experts say that certain ASEAN countries may also want to limit their exposure to China. So that's going to be the final issue that they're going to be discussing. So a lot on the plate, all the way from diplomatic relations to trade and also security in the Indo-Pacific.
A very full plate indeed, but Myanmar's military foreign minister has been shunned from these talks. What's been said about that?
Well, it's come as a bit of a surprise move because India hasn't really condemned Myanmar's military to the degree that other countries, especially ASEAN countries, have done. India and Myanmar's military have had close ties. These two armies have held joint operations a lot of the times in the past, countering insurgency in India's northeastern region. So this comes as a bit of a surprise, if not a shock. But several experts say that after India was rebuked, it got into some hot waters after inviting Myanmar to the BIMSTEC summit, which also included other South Asian countries. India may have wanted to take things a bit more slowly this time around, trying to exclude Myanmar. India, however, has said that it wants to put the ball in the ASEAN's court, and it's repeatedly said that inviting Myanmar is not India's prerogative. It's part of an ASEAN country, and therefore it should be the responsibility of ASEAN nations to invite Myanmar. But this certainly signals a shift in what India's foreign policy has been towards Myanmar, and many experts say that this very clearly signals that India is giving perhaps a bit more importance to ASEAN countries than it is to Myanmar, which has been one of the closest allies of India for the past several decades.
Very interesting. Thank you so much for the update there, Shangarg, reporting live from New Delhi.